My abusive ex used my son to get life insurance money. Just a little warning before I begin. There are some abuse triggers in this post. I'm in a much better place now. I just wish that it's not cost me so much just to get rid of my husband. He was a very abusive man who made sure that he ruined my life along with his girlfriend so that they could get an easy payday. But the way they were exposed and the quick acting of karma made sure that my suffering was not in vain. I used to be married to a very abusive man until about a year ago, but because of circumstances, he's no longer in my life. I got pregnant at 20 and dropped out of college because my boyfriend, who was 29, did not want me to abort the baby or continue with schoolwork now that I was carrying his child. I used to be one of the high achievers with a healthy social life and a good relationship with my family. I never rebelled or felt the need to because of my supportive family. But when I met Warren, who started as charming and wickedly smart, I fell in love with him. He was on the breakout of fame with his band that played a few gigs around town. I liked that when I was with him, everyone looked at me in envy. He was everything that a girl my age thought she needed, and I thought he was just too good for me. Things got worse when I fell pregnant, and he got more controlling of me. I mistook it for love and concern when he did not want me to go anywhere. He told me that he would marry me just as soon as he saved up the money, and I guess that made me feel better about dropping out. By the time my relationship with my parents was on the verge of falling apart, as they did not want me to be with him, not to mention the way my grades have been slipping up ever since I met up with him. When they found out I dropped out and was pregnant, they immediately took me back home and said that they would not allow me to go back to him. I found a way to talk to him while I was still there, and he said that he would make a plan to get me back. A few weeks later, we eloped, after he got me a ring which he pawned his guitar to buy, and nothing could have been more romantic than that. We got married in a courthouse, but my parents were not in attendance. His family was very welcoming of us and even gave us some money to get an apartment ourselves. The first time he beat me, I was pregnant. I asked him where he was, and he got so upset, saying that I did not owe him anything. He slapped me, but quickly apologized to me and showered me with gifts the next day. In small things like raising his voice at me, not liking when I talked to any guy, even if they were just friends, the abuse escalated. I did not tell his family because they loved him so much, as he reminded me every day and would never believe me. I gave birth to a son, and for a long time, we were so happy that I forgot the ugly side of him. That's been emerging with time. But it got worse because one day he punched me because he thought I was flirting with the pizza delivery guy. I was not going to let him get away with beating me, so I tried to hit him back. But that only made him angrier, and he beat me so severely, only stopping because our son was crying. For days, I did not leave the house because I was in bad shape. He apologized to me the next day and said he loved me so much that he did not want anyone talking to me. That should have been a red flag from the get-go, and I should have taken my son and left, but I didn't have anywhere to go. The only people I had in my life were his family, and they would always take his side. I went to his mom when he beat me badly, and she told me that he was a troubled child. He needed me and Leon, our son, to keep him sane. So for years, I endured the insults because he always made me feel better. I learned to stop asking questions when he did not come home, and to focus on raising his son. I loved him so much, and he was all that I had. My friends have gone and had better lives than me. I wasn't allowed to work, but he did give me his paycheck at the end of each month, so I could handle the house expenses. I was the envy of most of the women in my family because they thought he was perfect. I accepted the hell he put me through until it got to a point where I could not because of our son. I knew that this relationship was abusive, and I did not want my son to grow up around that and turn into a monster like his father. So I stole money one day and took my son, who's 7 years old, back to my parents' house. There I stayed for a whole year with my family and managed to do a short course at the community college and started working. I did not ever plan to go back, but he started contacting me again because he wanted access to his son. I slowly maintained contact with him and let him see his son, and he pulled me back into his web of lies after that. Again, I blocked my family from my life because he fed me lies and they were toxic and did not want us to be happy, etc. He promised that he was doing better and was going for counseling. He also said he quit drinking alcohol and smoking, which only made his anger worse sometimes. I stayed for 3 more years, but he relapsed within the first week and went back to treating me like trash. Then we hit a rough patch where he would spend the whole day at home drinking. And when I asked about work, he would say that he married me for my looks, not my smart mouth. This would be a verbal warning, and I would know that if I messed up anything else that day, he was going to teach me a lesson. Money became tight for us, and I knew that he did not want to say anything and he was stressed out. The bills began to pile up, and so did our son's school fees. So I decided to start a job doing admin at a hospital near my son's school. I was part-time, and I always made sure to be done way before Warren got back home. With the extra money, I took care of my son's school expenses without him knowing. I did not know where he spent the cash that he had or why I was no longer seeing the paychecks. But I've given up on him long ago. I wanted to leave him soon. I was just not ready and I did not have the courage. The thing I did not want to happen, and he found out I was working when one of his friends saw me at the hospital. I expected he was going to punish me because he did not want me to work. He had beaten me in the past when I wanted to work. But to my surprise, he thanked me for picking up the bills and helping out when he could not. He said he wanted to take me to a getaway with our son that weekend by his dad's cabin in some woods, away from everyone, so that we would bond and restart our relationship. I excitedly packed our things and we were off. The weekend started great. He and Leon would go hunting and do whatever men do, and I would have some alone time to relax and make us food. Finally, we were a normal family. I thought that was the case, but then, on the second day, my husband ran to our cabin, soaked and crying, asking me to forgive him. I followed him to where they've been swimming, and there I saw my son's clothes, but no sign of him. I could hear that he was telling me that my son drowned, but it did not make sense. I've been through a lot in my life, but the feeling of losing the light of my life will always be the worst thing in the world. It was his fault, and he should have protected my son. I refused to accept that my son was gone and tried to go into the water to look for him. I was certain that he was hiding somewhere, maybe playing a prank on us. But Warren dragged me away from the water, kicking and screaming, and we called emergency services. I waited for hours while they looked for him, but there was nothing. And they told me to prepare for the possibility that we would never find him. But I did not want condolences, and, we tried. I needed to see his body to make sure he was gone. My husband was calm during the whole thing, calling family members and friends with the news and organizing for us to go back home. I have the support of my in-laws, but what I needed was my parents. They did not want to hear from me, but I kept on trying until they listened. They were my support as I organized search parties to go look for him. My husband was so quick to announce his death and take in any donations that I got very suspicious red flags from. He did not have any remorse in his eyes and snapped at me when I kept saying we should look for Leon. Then he let me know that we did not have to worry about money because he had life insurance on the boy. Something, call it motherly instinct, was telling me that there was a lot he wasn't telling me. And that only worsened when a few days later, the search party said they found a piece of Tom clothing from the shirt my husband was wearing that day. I watched his reaction. He became shifty. His nose flared when he said that he had tried helping my son, but the river current was too strong. His nose always flared when he lied. I've been married to him for more than a decade after all. I know all his tales. I felt that he had something to do with my son's death, and if he did, so help me. So help me. So, I stole his phone, and what horrors I found. It was much more than I've been expecting. His text messages were empty, all except for an archived chat with a person with the letter D. He was cheating on me, which I suspected from the way he's been acting lately. Everything was there. Their plans to take out insurance, her suggestion to kill me instead so they would get the money. But he was not a fan of that idea and said that he would be the main suspect. But if they killed the child, they would never get caught. There were messages where he updated her that the job was done, and he had already talked to the insurance company. But who was this woman called D? Someone that I knew? But that was not important because I took screenshots of the conversation and sent them to my mom and told her go straight to the police if I wind up missing. I called him home immediately, telling him that something's horribly wrong. I set up a camera to record the confrontation I was going to have with him before I went to the police. He denied having anything to do with my son's death, but once I told him that I knew about his affair, and I have evidence of what he did, his last temper lost and confessed to killing my son. He said that he never loved us, and we were all a liability in his life, and he was going to start a new life with his mistress. I asked him why he would break my heart by taking away my son, and he dared to claim that me falling pregnant was the reason his career ended. He told me not to tell anyone, or he would make sure I joined my son. I tried to lunge for the phone, but he saw me and struggled for it. I bit him and ran out to the apartment, but he wasn't that far behind me. I turned around and did not see him pursuing me once I was in the street, but I just kept running. I reached an open road when I heard the car coming after me. A quick glance over my shoulder showed me that he was closing in fast. I did not have a chance to get out of the way before the only thing I saw was the white lights. And then I was rolling. I heard the loud thud of a car, followed by the smell of fire. He had narrowly missed me, and his car rolled over the side of the grassy hill next to the road, and by some miracle, I landed in the opposite direction after the side of his car hit me. There was so much fire and chaos, I didn't know if he made it out alive. Despite some impact on my side, I was fine. The car accident caused damage to his legs. They were crushed, and no amount of surgery could save them. The phone was still in the room, and it had the record confession, which I handed over to the police as well as the text messages. I found out that Dee was a woman I've never met before, and she was his lover. While he was in the hospital, they investigated both of them and saw that he had been exchanging emails with insurance company mere hours before my son's death. And his search history was suspicious. Once he recovered, he was arrested and both of them went on to trial. Dee was quick to turn on him in the middle of the trial, saying that it was his idea. More evidence came forward, and when it was my turn to testify, I told them everything, along with how he abused me and his violent nature. My family was there to support me throughout the trial and forgave me for the way I treated them. Even though he did not confess, there was more than enough evidence against him to get a life prison for murder, without the chance for parole. The justice system in my state is pretty tough on murderers, especially when children are involved. He did not get the payout in the end because of a clause of the state that is a beneficiary murdered the deceased, making him ill-eligible for the payout. I got the insurance payout, and it was a lot of money. After that, I paid a good lawyer to get me divorced from him as quickly as humanly possible. He tried to get a share of the insurance money from me, but his attempts were obviously futile, and I got divorced from him. I've since moved out of the apartment and back home. My son was never found, but grief counseling has helped me accept that he is gone, even though I find it hard to forgive myself. I've enrolled myself in some self-defense classes and donated a portion of the money to an NGO that helps women that have been abused to start over. I do not consider myself lucky, because this is not how I wanted to get out. I wanted to leave that relationship with my son alive, not this insurance monopoly money. Right now, I'm just focusing on healing. His family members have tried to get me to see him in prison, and they say that he is remorseful. But I'm not ready to see his face again. This is one of those stories where I just hope it's not true. Even though karma was kinda served at the end when they were both in prison for life, it still doesn't take away from the heinous act that these people did, and I feel deeply sorry for OP. Guys, if you were in OP's position and you just found out this devastating news, how would you react? Would you do the same as OP, or would you go about it differently? Drop your comments down below. I love reading your thoughts and opinions. The next story on the day, it's the final story. My daughter, 16, her friend, who is from a crazy religious family, wants to try forbidden stuff with our family. So, what do? My daughter, Lily, is a wonderful, kind, and accomplished high school student who came to me with a request back in September when the school year started. Her friend Rose is from a very, very religious, almost cultish family similar to the Gurs. Women are required to dress very modestly, stay home, have a bunch of kids, defer to their men, etc. Sports, music, dance, books, and pants are forbidden for girls. Rose has 6 younger siblings that she cares for and does a large chunk of household work. Rose's father is even employed by said church. Rose just found out over the summer that her parents have decided not to let her go to college. By that, they meant that they would not provide a single penny for financial support, not allow her to live at home if she does choose to go to college, aka disown her. And most importantly, they would never give their information for FOSFA. So Rose can't get grants and loans. Of course, she would be banned from their family forever if she chose to go. As many of those reading this are aware, it's damn near impossible to get financial aid without FOSFA. I work in the admissions department of the largest and highest-ranked state university in my state, and Lily wanted to know if I could help Rose navigate this issue and come up with other options for her to go to college. Rose, very bravely, had decided to defy her parents and risk being disowned in order to get an education. I agreed to help her, and we've been meeting up twice a week. Rose made a fake Bible study group to stay back after hours, and her mom just had a baby is quite distracted to even care. Since then, at my house is where we've been meeting. I've grown quite fond of Rose. She's incredibly hardworking and courageous with zero support from anyone. I enjoy our twice-weekly meetings when I usually make dinner for the girls as well. Rose recently confided me that she wants to try to sinful things because, well, she's a teenage girl, I guess. Here are the list of things she wanted to try and how I feel about them. Number 1, makeup. Rose wants to wear makeup, which is a strict no-no, especially bright lipstick. I'm okay with this because most teen girls like to experiment with makeup. And I don't think red lipstick is a sin. Number 2, tampons. Rose is forced to use thick, bulky maxi pads by her mother because tampons will, quote, take her innocence. Again, I'm fine with this because I don't think your choice of feminine hygiene reflects your character. Number 3. A two-piece bathing bikini. This is a big one. We have a pool at home, it's too cold now, and she's seen Lily wearing and walking around in one of them like it's nothing. Rose wants to know how it feels to wear one. She can't swim, by the way. Her parents don't allow any sports. Ethnic food number 4. Our family loves Thai, Indian, Mexican, and other, quote, ethnic meals. I used to occasionally order when Rose was over, but she always turned me down because she was told that these countries' cultures were satanic, and their food would turn you evil or gay, or whatever. She now wants to try and explore other food. Number 5. Wine. This is a tricky one. Because I work in college, I see firsthand how kids from overly sheltered families go crazy with alcohol when they get to college. My husband and I want to avoid this with Lily, so we let her have a small amount of wine with dinner 1 to 2 times a month. Well, Rose wants to try alcohol, also a huge no-no. Unfortunately, I don't want to risk giving alcohol to a minor, and I plan on declining number 5. However, my husband is wary of allowing Rose these experiences in our home. He thinks that we are explicitly undermining Rose's parents, and no matter how crazy they are, it's still their right to raise Rose how they see fit, until she's 18. I disagree with him completely, because I'm already helping her defy her parents' decisions. Example, college. He's okay with it because she'll be over 18 when she moves out. Plus, I can sense that she's depressed about not being like the other kids, and it's definitely affecting her self-esteem and general happiness. So let me know in the comment section, what would you guys do? There was a comment for this story that tried to share a little bit of input or maybe advice. Let's check it out and see what you guys think. As someone who grew up in a crazy cultist church, let me just say how wonderful it is that you're willing to help this girl. That said, tread lightly. Be extremely careful how you help. If her family gets wind of your, quote, interference, it's likely that they'll send her off somewhere else to live with friends or a family. The more of these forbidden things you help her with, the more likely she will be caught. Even if she washes her face clean, there's likely to be a trace of mascara. Even if she's very careful, she's more likely to slip and mention how she loves Thai food, or say something about how easy it is to run in pants, or, a bar of Taylor Swift's latest song. Let me know what you guys think of this comment, drop your thoughts down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.